All right, we're about to dive into a story that honestly feels like it's been ripped straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's not. It's happening right now in the music industry. It's a wild tale of technology, identity, and a hit song by an artist who, well, doesn't even exist. So just imagine this for a second. You're a musician. You've poured years of your life into crafting your own unique sound. And then, bam, a song hits #1 on a Billboard chart. The style, the voice, it's unmistakably you. Except it's not. The artist is a total stranger. Actually, they're not even a real person. And this isn't some crazy hypothetical. It's the bizarre reality we're breaking down today. You're looking at a direct quote from Grammy-nominated artist Blanco Brown. His phone just started blowing up one day with people asking about this new song. A friend put it to him just like that. Somebody done typed your name in the AI and made a white version of you. What he found is a perfect and kind of chilling example of how generative AI is turning the entire music world completely upside down. It's raising these huge questions about art, ownership, and even identity. So to really understand what's at stake here, you gotta meet the two main players in this story. One of them is human, and the other one, well, not so much. I mean, the contrast here is just staggering. On one side, you have Blanco Brown, a real artist, a black man who spent years carving out his own lane in Nashville by blending all these different genres. Then on the other side, you have Breaking Rust, a totally fictional avatar that just popped up out of thin air. The problem? Breaking Rust's #1 hit was built using the vocal style, the phrasing, the entire artistic DNA of Blanco Brown. And the craziest part? He had no idea, no knowledge, no consent. So you have to be asking, how in the world is this even possible? Well, that brings us to the technology itself and the legal and ethical chaos that it is kicking up. You know, the process is actually deceptively simple. It all starts with a text prompt. You can literally just type something like, create a country rap song in the style of Blanco Brown with a gritty voice into a platform like Suno or Udio. The AI model, which has been trained on a massive library of existing and, yeah, often copyrighted music, it just gets to work. And in moments, it spits out a brand new track that fits your description. It's like music creation for everyone, but there are basically zero guardrails. And this right here is the absolute crucial point. We are living in a true technological Wild West. The ability to create this stuff is moving so fast that our laws, our ethics, our entire industries, they just haven't caught up. Right now, there's no real system for accountability, which leaves artists in this bizarre limbo where their life's work can be used without any compensation or even credit. So the music industry's response? It's been a mix of total panic and confusion. The first instinct, naturally, was to sue. You had major labels going after AI platforms for massive copyright infringement. But now we're seeing this really fast pivot from fighting in court to cutting deals. Universal and Warner are already making partnerships, trying to license this tech so they can protect and pay their artists. It's basically a mad dash to write the rules for a game that's already being played. Now, while this all feels incredibly new and, frankly, a little scary, the fear that technology is going to replace human musicians, that's actually a very old song. This timeline shows a really clear pattern, right? Back in the 60s, the Moog synthesizer was seen as this huge threat that could replicate any instrument. Then in the 80s, digital samplers let artists literally copy and paste parts of other people's songs, which led to enormous copyright battles. And today, generative AI just takes that idea to a whole other level. Each one of these innovations was met with fear and disruption, and then, eventually, a pretty messy adaptation. This quote from Robert Moog himself just perfectly illustrates the point. He was describing how musicians back in the 60s were terrified of his invention, thinking you could just push a button and completely replace a world-class violinist. Sound familiar? It is the exact same anxiety we're hearing about AI today. History shows these disruptions often end up creating new jobs and even whole new genres, even as they change the old ones. So why is this all happening so incredibly fast? Why this frantic pace of development and deal-making? Well, as it almost always does, it comes down to money. You just have to follow the money. Take a good look at this number, $2.8 billion. It's a massive figure, and it represents the enormous financial engine that's driving this AI music revolution. And here's what that number actually means. This chart shows the projected growth of the generative AI music market. Just in 2023, it was valued at $440 million. By 2030, it's projected to hit nearly 2.8 billion. That is an absolutely explosive growth rate. This isn't just some tech experiment, it's a multi-billion-dollar gold rush, and everybody is scrambling to stake their claim. Which brings us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. Even if an AI can perfectly replicate the sound of music, can it ever replicate the soul? Let's just break down the fundamental difference here. Human art comes from life. It's the product of joy, of heartbreak, of social context, and that unspoken connection between an artist and their audience. AI-generated content, on the other hand, is a product of math. It's incredibly sophisticated pattern recognition for sure, but it doesn't have memories. It doesn't feel emotions. It can mimic a style, but it completely lacks the lived experience that gives that style its meaning in the first place. And this quote from Shelley Berg, a dean and a Grammy-nominated pianist, he just nails it. A machine can analyze every single piece of Blanco Brown's music and replicate his vocal patterns, but it can never, ever replicate what it was like for him to grow up, to navigate the music industry as a Black artist in Nashville, to have the actual experiences that shaped his voice. They occupy, as he says, fundamentally different spaces. So in the end, we're left with this final, critical question. We use music to understand ourselves, to understand each other. A minor chord isn't just a set of sound frequencies, it's a metaphor for sadness. A driving beat can be a metaphor for determination. If that's true, what does it mean for us when the machines, these things with zero human experience, start writing our metaphors for us? That's the question we're all going to have to answer. All right, let's just jump right in. Forever, the deal between gamers and the games we love has been kind of one-sided, right? We pour in thousands of hours, our skill, our cash, and for what, really? Today, we're going to break down a massive technological shift that's aiming to flip that script, turning us, the players, from just customers into actual owners. We're talking about Web3 gaming. Seriously, just think about it for a sec. You know that legendary sword you spent months, literal months, grinding for? Or that super rare skin you finally got in a loot box? It feels like it's yours, doesn't it? But is it really? That one question is the entire reason this Web3 gaming revolution is even happening. Because, the hard truth is, for almost all of gaming history, the answer to that question was a big fat nothing. You're basically just renting those items from the game company. But now, a whole new wave of tech is here, and it's set to change that, forever. It's tackling what we call gaming's fundamental ownership problem. So, to really get where this is all going, we first have to understand where we are right now. Let's break down the walls of the current, Web 2 gaming world. Okay, so this chart pretty much lays out the harsh reality for us gamers. See, your items, they aren't really your items. They're just some lines of code on a company's private server. And yeah, sure, in a game like CSGO, you can trade skins on the Steam marketplace. But who's in charge of that whole economy? Valve. The value is completely trapped inside their walls. And here's the kicker. If the publisher decides to ban your account for whatever reason, poof, all that value, all those hours, it's just gone in an instant. And there's nothing you can do about it because you never actually owned any of it to begin with. So how do we fix this whole mess? I mean, how do we give players real, actual, verifiable ownership? Well, the answer lies in a piece of tech you've probably heard about a million times by now, the blockchain. This is the new foundation that everything is being built on. And look, forget all the super complex jargon you've heard for a minute. At its heart, a blockchain is really just a shared digital book of transactions. Imagine a ledger that everyone can see, but no single person or company can go back and change. So instead of some company's private server being the source of truth, this public network becomes the ultimate referee of who owns what. It's that simple. Now this is where it gets really, really powerful. An NFT, it's basically a unique digital certificate of ownership that lives on that blockchain. It's unforgeable. So that rare sword we were talking about, it's not just a line in a database anymore. No way. It is now a unique asset, an NFT, that is cryptographically locked to your digital wallet. It is provably 100% yours. Okay, so to make these new economies actually work, you need currency. That's where utility tokens come in. So if NFTs are the unique things you own, like your car or your house, utility tokens are the cash you use to buy gas, pay for repairs, and just generally live in that world. They're the fuel that makes the whole in-game economy run. So, with this new tech ready to go, the first big experiment kicked off: play to earn. And man, it was a chaotic, explosive gold rush that generated a ton of hype and taught everyone some very, very important lessons. When I say explosive, I am not kidding. By just the third quarter of 2022, investors had already poured almost $7 billion into blockchain gaming. The hype was completely off the charts, all driven by this incredible promise of players earning real-world money just from playing a game. And the poster child for this whole gold rush was a game called Axie Infinity. For a little while, it was like a dream come true. You had players in places like the Philippines earning a legitimate, life-changing income from this game. But its insane rise also exposed a huge fatal flaw. The game's utility token, SLP, was being created as a reward way, way faster than people were spending it in the game. What does that lead to? Hyperinflation. And as you can see, the value just cratered. It took the entire early play-to-earn model down with it. Yeah, this quote from the analyst group Newzoo really just hits the nail on the head. They said, "The early market for blockchain games is overrun by titles that feature rudimentary gameplay without sustainable economics." The bottom line was, these first games were basically financial products disguised as games. And once the money dried up, there was no reason to play because, honestly, they just weren't very fun. But you know what they say, failure is often the best teacher. The collapse of that first play-to-earn wave, it forced developers to get a lot smarter and to start building for the long haul. The whole industry began this major pivot away from pure hype and toward actually creating something sustainable. And this is the absolute key, the philosophical shift. The whole story changed from play-to-earn to play and earn. Now that might sound like a tiny difference, but it is everything. It means the number one reason to play a game has to be because it's fun. The earning part, that becomes an awesome bonus, not the only reason the game exists. A huge part of this new thinking was completely redesigning the economics. See, those early games, they often used just one single token for everything, and it was a total disaster. If speculators drove the price way up, the game became too expensive for new players. If players sold off their rewards, the price would crash. So the solution is this dual token model. You have one token, the utility token, for all the day-to-day stuff in the game. And then you have a totally separate governance token, which often has a fixed supply that represents a real stake in the game's value and its future. This separation is crucial. It shields the actual gameplay economy from all the crazy market speculation, creating much-needed stability. All right, so with smarter economies and a focus back on fun, what does the future actually look like? Well, the potential here goes way beyond just earning some cash. It's really about fundamentally flipping the entire power structure of gaming on its head. And that brings us to one of the most exciting ideas in this whole space, the DAO, or Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Just imagine for a second, what if the players, the people who actually hold those governance tokens we just talked about, got to vote on the big decisions? I'm talking about things like what new feature gets built next, or how to balance the in-game economy, or even how to spend the money in the community's treasury. That's a DAO. It turns players from just users into true stakeholders. And hey, this isn't just some sci-fi theory. Groups like Yield Guild Games are already doing this right now. YGG is this massive gaming guild that's organized as a DAO. They pull together player-owned assets and coordinate thousands of players across a bunch of different games. They're essentially creating their very own player-run decentralized economy. It's a really powerful glimpse of what's possible. So, when you put all these pieces together, what you're looking at is a completely new paradigm. Players get real ownership and, for the first time, a real voice. Developers get a brand new, sustainable way to make money through royalties every time an asset gets traded. And maybe the most mind-blowing part? These assets could one day be usable across different games, creating a real interconnected metaverse. The whole system is built on transparency and ultimately shared success. And all of this leads us to one final, really provocative question. If players can own the assets, if they can govern the development, and if they can share in the profits through these DAOs, then what exactly is the role of the traditional game publisher anymore? In this new world, are we, the players, about to become the new publishers? The new gatekeepers? That's a fascinating thought to end. You know, every single day, we're handing over our data online. We're just trusting that big companies will keep it safe, that they'll use it the right way. But let's be honest, that trust gets broken all the time. So what if we could just get rid of trust altogether? What if we could rely on pure mathematical proof instead? Well, that's the world of provable privacy, and we're about to dive deep into how it all works. This sounds like a total riddle, right? But it's honestly one of the most important questions in tech today. We all want the amazing benefits of AI, of massive data analysis. But we also, want to hang on to our basic right to privacy. This whole explainer is about the incredible cryptographic breakthroughs that are finally making that possible.
So to really get the solution, we've got to understand the problem first. Right now, pretty much all of us live in the world you see on the left. Our data? It's controlled by just a handful of massive corporations, locked away in their data silos. And yeah, it's often being harvested. The decentralized vision, which projects like Filecoin are busy building, is a complete 180. It's all about you owning your data, using systems that are totally transparent and verifiable, and running on a network that's spread out and way more resilient.
But here's the thing, whether we're talking about the old centralized web or this new decentralized one, we smack right into the same massive roadblock, the AI privacy paradox. See, to build really powerful AI, you need just enormous amounts of data. But the most valuable data, it's almost always the most sensitive. So how do you get people to collaborate without forcing them to reveal their secrets? And this isn't some abstract theoretical problem. Think about healthcare for a second. Imagine if hospitals all over the world could securely analyze their patient data together to find cures for diseases, all without ever revealing a single person's private record. Or think about banks teaming up to spot complex fraud rings without ever sharing customer account info. This is where the stakes are incredibly high and where a solution is so desperately needed. The journey to solving that paradox, it starts with a rock-solid guarantee. Before we can even think about computing on data, we have to know for sure that it's being stored correctly. And this is where Filecoin comes in with a pretty radical idea. We're going to completely replace trust with cold, hard, cryptographic proof. The first of these proofs is called Proof-of-Replication, or POREP for short. And the one word you need to remember here is uniqueness. See, POREP doesn't just prove your data is stored somewhere. Nope. It proves that a storage provider has created a brand new, physically unique copy just for you. This makes it pretty much impossible for them to cheat the system by, say, pretending to store 10 copies of your file when they're really only keeping one. So how in the world does it do that? It's through a process they call sealing. Basically, your data gets put through this deliberately slow and really computationally heavy encoding process. The whole key is that it's difficult on purpose. This creates a unique, sealed replica of your data that can't be quickly faked later. That difficulty, that's the security feature. And this sums it up perfectly. The sealing process essentially mixes your data with a unique ID from the storage provider, creating this one-of-a-kind cryptographic fingerprint. It's mathematical proof that they are dedicating real physical hardware just for your file. No shortcuts. Okay, but proving something is stored once isn't really enough, is it? How do we know the data is still there tomorrow, or next week, or 5 years from now? That's where the second guarantee kicks in, proof of spacetime, or POST. This isn't a one-and-done thing. Think of it like a continuous, ongoing audit. The network is constantly challenging the storage provider, forcing them to prove they're still holding on to your unique data, day in and day out. This is hands down my favorite way to explain how this works. Imagine all that sealed data on a hard drive as like a giant sheet of pre-filled lottery tickets. The network is like the lottery official, and every so often, it just shouts out a random number. The storage provider has to instantly prove they have the matching ticket. If they can, boom, they've proven they still have the data and they win a reward. If they can't, well, the network knows something's up.
All right, so Filecoin gives us provable, unique storage that lasts over time. That is a massive step forward, but it only solves half the problem. Now that we know our data is safe and sound, how do we actually use it? How do we train an AI or run an analysis without ever showing anyone the raw, sensitive information?
This is that deeper challenge we were just talking about. This is exactly where those hospitals and banks hit a brick wall. They desperately want the collective insight, but they're legally and ethically bound to protect individual privacy. The answer, it turns out, lies in a totally fascinating field of cryptography. And the solution has a name that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction: Secure Multi-Party Computation, or SMPC. It is a method that allows a whole group of people to jointly compute something using their combined data, but with one critical rule. The only thing anyone ever learns is the final result. Nobody ever sees anyone else's private data. So how on earth does this magic trick actually work? Well, at a high level, it's pretty clever. Each person takes their secret data and shatters it into a bunch of encrypted little pieces called shares. Then they spread these shares all around the group. Now, here's the kicker. No single person has enough pieces to put the original secret back together. Then the group does all their math, all their calculations directly on these scrambled, encrypted pieces, and only at the very end do they bring their results together to reveal just the final combined answer. A really great way to picture it is like a secret message that's been cut up into puzzle pieces. If I give you just one piece, you have no idea what the message says. But if the whole group puts their pieces together in this special cryptographic way, they can figure out the overall meaning of the message without any single person ever having to read the whole thing. It's incredible. Now, this isn't just theory. People are already building this stuff. Take a project called Hermit, for example. It was a runner-up in a Filecoin hackathon, and it does exactly this. It combines Filecoin's super secure provable storage with the power of SMPC. The result is a platform where people can work together to train machine learning models without ever having to share their raw data. That's a game changer. So when you put all these pieces together, the provable storage and the private computation, you get the actual foundation for a completely new data economy. We're talking about one that doesn't rely on you just hoping a company follows its own terms of service, but one where you trust the unshakable laws of mathematics. And the applications here are just transformative. We're talking about being able to build life-saving medical AI while protecting patient privacy to the absolute highest degree. We're talking about creating global anti-fraud networks that are way more powerful than anything we have today. And we're talking about accelerating scientific discovery by letting researchers collaborate on sensitive data like never before. Look, this isn't just about cool tech. It's about a real mission. Back in 2021, the Filecoin Foundation really put its money where its mouth is. They donated 50,000 Filecoin, which was worth $10 million at the time, to the Internet Archive. That's a powerful statement that this is all about building a more resilient, more open, and more verifiable internet for every single one of us. When you step back and look at the whole picture, the main takeaway here is pretty profound. What we're witnessing is a fundamental paradigm shift. We're moving away from a world where we have to blindly trust institutions and into a world where we have verifiable proof that our data is being handled the right way. What this all means is that the future of data privacy and AI doesn't have to be a choice between innovation and security. It turns out we can have both. Because at the end of the day, the most robust and trustworthy systems aren't going to be the ones that make the best promises, they're going to be the ones that provide the strongest proof.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.